It was supposed to be a simple surrender. The Galactic Council stood towering over the single human envoy sent to negotiate Earth's submission. They had wiped out entire species before one fragile planet wouldn't even make the footnotes. The envoy, a man with gray streaks in his hair and a scar running from his temple to his jaw, leaned forward. "Do you really think you're the first to try this?" he asked, voice calm. "Let me tell you about the first ones who fucked with humans. They called themselves the Talakar Dominion. Spoiler, you won't find them in your history books. But we didn't wipe them out. Not exactly. We let them live. As a reminder, the Galactic Council's supreme commander, a towering mass of scales and claws, sneered down at the envoy. A reminder? You humans can barely travel between star systems. What could you possibly have to teach us?" The envoy smiled. "It's not what we teach. It's what we do when someone thinks they can bully us. I don't have time for a history lesson, but here's the short version. Every great power in the galaxy has tried to make us kneel. They thought we were primitive, weak, easy prey. And every time, we survived. Then, we did more than survive. We adapted. You ever hear of the Reavers?" The human continued with a glint in his eye. The council members exchanged looks, confused. "Of course you haven't," he answered for them. "Because they tried to enslave Earth 500 years ago, and now they're nothing but whispers in the dark. You see, we didn't just fight them, we hacked their ships. We didn't even know how to build interstellar engines at the time, but once we got our hands on theirs, we reverse-engineered everything. Their mistake? They didn't understand that humans learn fast. We always learn fast," the commander growled. "The Reavers were a weak species. We are not." The envoy raised an eyebrow. "Neither were the Sulcan Armada. Ever wonder why there's a massive gap in your star maps around the Tau Ceti system?" The commander shifted uneasily. "That territory is uninhabitable now, is it?" the envoy asked, voice smooth as silk. "Or did the Sulcans simply pick a fight they couldn't win? They bombarded Earth for years before we found a way to strike back. Then we gave them a choice, leave peacefully or face the consequences. They laughed right before we turned their entire fleet into scrap metal, using nothing more than brute force hacking and good old-fashioned human grit." He paused, letting the silence hang. "That planet isn't uninhabitable. It's under quarantine. We don't want anyone going near the Sulcan ruins." By now, the council members were growing visibly uneasy. One brave alien, a thin creature with 6 arms and a crown of tendrils, spoke up. "You speak of defiance as though it's a strength, but all we see is reckless survival. Every species you've faced is gone. What makes you think you'll survive us?" The envoy chuckled. "That's the thing, isn't it? It's not about survival. It's about the cost. Humanity's real strength? We don't stop at winning. We'll make sure that even if we lose, you'll never forget the price of victory." The envoy leaned forward again. "Let me ask you something. Ever wonder why no one has ever glassed Earth from orbit? Think about it. You've seen how we fight, how we resist. Yet no one has ever delivered that final, fatal blow. Want to know why?" The room was silent now, all eyes on the human. "It's because we found a way to make sure that if Earth burns, the whole galaxy burns with it." The commander's voice shook slightly. "That's impossible, is it? We have contingencies. Doomsday plans we hope never to use, but they're there. Our planet's core filled with enough antimatter to destabilize this entire quadrant if anyone tries to wipe us out. We're not invincible, but if you come for us, we'll take you with us." The council erupted in whispers, some casting skeptical glances, others visibly shaken. The human envoy sat back, letting the panic spread before he delivered the final blow. "Look," he said, softening his tone, "we don't want to fight. We're happy to stay in our corner of the galaxy. But you should know humans are stubborn. We don't go down easily. If you force our hand, we'll fight like nothing you've ever seen. And win or lose, we'll make sure you regret it. You think you can break us? Here's the thing you don't understand, the envoy said, his voice low and steady. We like impossible odds. We thrive on them. When Earth was on the brink of collapse, we didn't just survive, we grew. We've always been outnumbered, always underestimated. And yet, here we are, sitting across from you, he smirked. So go ahead, make your move. But don't say I didn't warn you when humanity does what it always does, turns the impossible into, well, that just happened. The Supreme Commander narrowed his eyes. So what's your proposal, human? The envoy stood, straightening his jacket. Simple. Leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone. But if you want to test us, well, let's just say, you won't get a second chance. Without waiting for a reply, the human turned on his heel and walked out, leaving the council chambers in tense silence. They had seen what happened to those who underestimated humanity. And now, for the first time, they were beginning to understand why no one ever made the same mistake twice.